Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I am Ben. I'm joined here, as always, by Chad and Brian, and we are back.
Yes.
Back, boys.
Yes, after the, we'll say somewhat disappointing season of Big Brother US 22, we have we're at the precipice of a hopeful season, I would say. Cast looks pretty good, and I'm ready to talk about him.
Yeah, we're back for more punishment here.
Hopefully not.
I mean, Big Brother Canada, I think, has a higher success rate in popping out recent seasons in the last 10ish years. So we're back talking about Big Brother Canada 9. We have the cast drop. The premiere is 1 week from tonight as of recording. And very excited. We have 14 new players as of now. There's still, ether about whether there could be like 2 returnees to make a full cast of 16, because 16 is the number that we've seen most consistently in recent Big Brother seasons. So we can talk about whether that's something that we want or something that we think will happen. But first of all, let's just get it out of the way, and just like overall thoughts on the cast, first impressions, Chad, before we jump into each individual person.
Yeah, I just reviewed this cast like less than an hour ago, and I watched all their videos, read all their bios, and it seems like a very strong cast. A lot of good personalities in here, very mixed. There's a couple of standouts I'm sure we're going to talk about that I like, and some that you like that I may not like. But this is a pretty strong cast so far.
Yep. Brian, what are your thoughts right off the bat, just overall?
Yeah, same thing. It seems when I first looked at all their pictures, I was like, wow, this is a very normal looking cast. Then when I saw the videos, I was like, oh no, most of them are hot. Okay, this is pretty it's pretty much how it usually is. But I do think, they did a good job of casting people who seem mostly normal. And I think maybe BBCAN, just because it's not taking place in LA and pulling from some of the actors, it has a more normal feel to their casts in general. But I'm excited by this group. I think it should be a good season. I'm so hesitant to say stuff like that because last time we previewed a season, I was all like, yeah, it's going to be great no matter what. And then it was what.
Yeah, no, I mean, you always got to be optimistic coming in. The cast definitely is very unique. I think there's a lot of very kind of unique personalities on the cast. A lot of players that don't really fit the kind of archetype that you would normally establish as a Big Brother player. But we do have, there are like 3, 4, 5 of them that have modeling experience. So there's no actor types. And as you said, most of them are pretty, attractive. But they're above the average line in terms of attractiveness.
Yeah.
So that's we'll talk about that. But yeah, I also am pretty happy with this cast of 14. I hope it stays at 14. We can talk about the initial twist that we have revealed as well. But what do you guys think about a potential 2 returnees coming back? Because we know that there are. We'll talk about it after this, but there's going to be 2 teams as the first twist. So there's speculation that there could be 2 returnees, 1 on each team. I personally think that's a bad idea. That's not going to happen. But what are your thoughts on that potentially being the case, Brian?
Well, I always say that Big Brother is pretty much a perfect game in design, and they always go out of their way to be like, how do we fuck this up? We've put together a really great format. How do we mess it up? And it feels like they're going to do that. And like you said, 14 people is not generally what, the cast is anymore in Big Brother. Perhaps at a certain time it was less people. So I'm ready for someone to come back. And I just hope it's not someone like very disappointing, How's the audience going to react if Ryan from BBCAN9 walks in the house?
Well, I don't think that's happening, but yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Ryan. No shit. You were my winner pick, so if that helps at all.
Yeah, Chad, any opinion on that beyond what we've already set forward?
Feel the same way. I'm not a fan of returnee seasons when there's only like a couple of them because I feel like it's either gonna go they're outcasted immediately or they somehow just squeeze to the end and somehow one of them wins. It always happens. Um, this is my first time I'm gonna be actually watching a Big Brother Canada season, so I kind of hope there's no returnees just so I know what the hell's going on. But yeah, I hope it stays at 14. This cast is it's normal, but it's like good, and like you said, most of them are attractive. I guess.
Ben is trying to rack my brain here. I believe Edge of Extinction is the only like mixed returnee nude that didn't have a returnee in the finals. Is that accurate for all these mixed seasons between all the different shows?
Also, Big Brother 11, where Jesse
Okay.
Goddard was taken out at the start of the jury with the coup d'etat twist, but that was a very specific instance, like where he was strategically running the game at that point. Jesse Goddard's who it was, somebody who was a pre-juror in the season prior and is generally kind of seen as a bit of an oaf. He was like kind of seen as an idol among that cast and was taken out by one of the more overpowered and unfair twists in the history of Big Brother, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd say if we come next Wednesday night and there are 2 returnees, or maybe Thursday night because it's 2-night premiere, and 2 returning players come into the house, throw out whatever winner picks we choose at the end of this podcast. One of those 2 is the most likely winner of the season.
Yeah. So I mean, you know,
Yeah.
at minute like what it's 42-minute TV show at minute like 1:41 and 30 seconds, there's gonna be a twist, and those 2 are gonna walk in the house. You know, whoever they are, and that's gonna set up the second episode. Like, it's almost too easy.
Yeah, I hope not, but I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Yeah, that's yeah.
But yeah, I hope that they just leave it at 14. Well, we'll talk about the other twist that is confirmed later on, which I also am not like super pleased with. We can get into that. But before we do that, let's just go through each of these players one by one in alphabetical order, which is how they are shown on the Big Brother Canada website, starting with Austin Duquois.
Yeah.
Austin Duquois is a 23-year-old woman from Newmarket, Ontario. She's a realtor, and she is one of the models that I mentioned earlier. And she's ready to play some Big Brother Canada. Brian, what is your first instinct or first thoughts about Austin?
I mean, I'm hopeful that she's going to live up to her claims of being like a smart, savvy competitor. Always get trepidatious around, the model, the hot person archetype being necessarily strategic, which is maybe, I don't know, hot prejudice on my part. I don't know, but we will see. We'll see. I'm not blown away. I'm not going to pick her as my winner pick.
I didn't know we were starting so early with some reverse lookism. That's okay. Yeah, I kind of got a similar vibe. Chad, what are your thoughts on Austin here?
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't really like stand out to me. I think she's someone that's going to be fun to watch, but I don't know, she's the one that said she graduated school like at 20, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, if she actually is intelligent or she just like loaded her classes up like some people do, I mean, who knows? But I think she's going to be like middle of the pack. Like if she's ends up being interesting, great, but like I'm not like overall like ecstatic about her, but I don't hate her. I think she could do well. Middle of the road.
Yeah, I think middle of the road is pretty much where I'm at as well. She's a crystal girl, which is
Bless up.
Bless up. It also seems like she doesn't have a ton of life experience. She, as you mentioned, kind of raced through university, and she talks a lot about how she's very close to her sister. She didn't really talk about like a greater friend group outside of her family or her sister. So that's kind of a little bit, that's kind of like a small red flag for me. And she is talking a lot about like how she's smart, and she's using kind of very small examples of that without really getting into too much detail. And she's also pretty young at 23. She's one of the younger people on the cast. So I worry that she doesn't really have the life experience or like the broad like collection of social interactions to be able to really get anything done in any major way. But she's single, she's attractive, she seems smart enough to get through. So there's a chance she like goes deep, and then you never know what happens in Big Brother.
Yeah, the chance she's gonna be laughing at us for doubting her. But yeah. I do think you bring up a really great point. This cast is skewing older than I think most reality TV casts, especially Big Brother.
Big Brother,
Survivor mixes it in a little bit more, but you can never really underestimate the kind of like barriers between, as a young person and trying to relate to older people who've had more life experience, had more work experience, had more, like family experience. They might have children that they can bond over.
Yep.
Very like small. When I played in Durham, I was the youngest on that cast, and it was a weird like thing, on my tribe. I was like 10 years at least younger than everybody, so it was like a very weird dynamic, and that's a good point. I don't think that should be underestimated in games like this.
Yeah, I think that 25 for Big Brother is kind of the floor for where like you can really be an effective like social player. Like 24 is kind of like on the line, and 23 is where I start to like doubt that you have the life experience to be able to like relate to a broad enough group of people.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at when you're 23 and you're like, okay, I didn't really know anything. I didn't I didn't like do anything. So
sure, yeah. But it's not to say that like younger players can't do well. You have like
of course,
your Steve Moseses of the world, who are, I think, Ian Terry as well, who were both in their very early 20s when they won. So it is possible, but it's just, I think that it's a detriment right off the bat. All right, next on the list we have Beth Beta, I think is how you would pronounce that. She is 27. She is from Tomahawk, Alberta, and she is a homeless support worker. Chad, what are your first thoughts coming out here with Beth? Not Polly Allen. This is actually a woman named Beth. Get that joke out of the way from the start.
Yeah, I mean, Beth was one of my standouts. She's kind of like my number 2 right now. I really like her. She's a social worker. She's 27, so she's in above that age that we're shooting for. Being a social worker, she will know how to work with different types of people. She seems very outgoing. I mean, she has her lazy eye, which is, I don't think that's a disadvantage or at all. I think it's, something that people could be like, oh, hey, it's a good talking point. It's a good like conversation starter. Not poking fun of her at all for that. I think that's kind of neat in a way. But yeah, I really like her. I think she's gonna do well. I see her as being involved in big alliance, but not being the head of it. I think she'll be a good number 2, number 3 in a big alliance and go pretty far.
Yeah, I liked Beth as well. Definitely playing up her farm girl like angle in her Meet Me video from Tomahawk, Alberta. That's a sweet name for a place. Didn't know that was a place. Very cool.
Yeah.
She says in her bio that she's going to pull a Tyler from BBUS. Hopefully she means the first time. Even so, Tyler didn't win, so I would be trying to pull someone who won the $500 million.
She does bring up Paris after, who was a winner, to be fair. So
that's true. I kind of like, they're like, okay, that's great. Could you mention someone who's on our show? Maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's good. That I think there weren't a lot of questions in these bios that encouraged people to talk about their like experience as a fan, or like there was no like who's your favorite player, or what player do you like see yourself like, anything like that. So the fact that she is bringing up multiple players from past seasons, including the one from the U.S. version of the show, is encouraging to me. And she mentions both Paris and Mitch, and I think that she brings up something that is pretty good about both Paris and Mitch's game, that like made them effective players, which is that they were able to kind of play like behind a curtain and make other people do their work for them. So that's encouraging for me as well. I do think she's like quirky in an endearing way, as opposed to like maybe some other players in this cast who are like a little quirky in like a less endearing way, in my opinion. So yeah, I would definitely put her towards the top of my list in terms of potential solid players or potential winners of the game. I like that she's a social worker. Her job, is actual, like, there's like real life, real consequences to her job, and she's working with people, which is good. She did grow up kind of in the middle of nowhere, but according to her video, she now lives in the city. I believe she now lives in Edmonton, which is one of the bigger cities in Alberta. So that's encouraging that she's not just like somebody from the middle of nowhere who's never really interacted with large groups of people from different walks of life. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives to go around for Beth for me, and not many negatives. So I'm very encouraged to see what she can do. All right, now we move on to Braden White, who is a 23-year-old from Calgary, Alberta, and he's an anthropology student, which he brought up a few times in his video as well. Brian, what are your first thoughts on Braden?
I like Braden. I'm always a little nervous when someone's going in like I'm gonna be the master manipulator, as he says in this. I'm gonna be the strategist, because I think
Yeah.
that's a real like recipe to get yourself in trouble.
Oh yeah.
By trying to live up to these expectations of being a strategist rather than letting the game come to you.
Yep.
So that's my biggest concern with him, and also the age. He's young.
Yeah, I don't think that Braden is the biggest. He's not the person that I would be the most worried about on this cast in terms of claiming to be a master manipulator without maybe the chops to back it up. But he's definitely the number 2 on that list for me in terms of that being kind of iffy for me. What are your first initial thoughts, Chad, of Braden here?
Very similar to Brian. Either going to play way too hard too early and people are going to see it, or he's just going to be like an outcast type of player. I mean, the only thing he talks about is that he's a student, which, like, dude, big deal. Like, I'm sure half this cast, if not all of them, were students. Like, the age thing is probably going to be most seen in this guy. And yeah, I think he's going to play too hard too fast. People are going to catch on quick. Or, he might be the ruler of the outcasts and somehow wiggle his way in the jury. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I think Braden has like there's definitely a high ceiling there, but I think it's very unlikely that he reaches that. His video made it pretty clear that I think that he's kind of coming in to be like a very specific archetype, and to like kind of be that like like bitchy villain, and like to cut great DRs and stuff like that. And I'm sure he'll be very entertaining television, good feeds, if he follows through on that. But I don't know how effective that will be in terms of gameplay. I know there are people comparing him to Gary from BBCAN9 and then also 5, but his more important game is 1. And Gary did technically, he should have won the game in BBCAN9. So, like, I guess that would be Braden's ceiling is like being BBCAN9 Gary. But like that's a very, very those are very big shoes to fill. And I don't know if he has the experience or the social know-how to actually fill them. We'll see. I think that this is kind of a wait and see one for me. Definitely can go either way in either extreme. Right.
I'm pretty confident on my opinions on the next person.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have very diverse opinions on our next player here. Ethan Quance, 22-year-old from Banff, Alberta. He is a line cook, and I believe he is the youngest player on the cast.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Just a quick double check. There's a lot of people in their late 20s and 30s, so I don't think there are any other 22-year-olds.
22.
Yeah, he is the youngest player on the cast, yes. And I think it's going to be pretty clear that he's the youngest player on the cast in the house as well. Chad, what are your first initial thoughts here of our boy Ethan?
I'm sure I'm not like shitting on anyone in this cast. You guys are all amazing people if you ever watch this. But like I think we've all met 1,000 Ethan Quances in our lifetime. Like I can picture like 3 people I know from college that are this kid. And like it's not saying anything bad about him. I just don't think that's a good skill set for Big Brother. Like he's way too young. Well, I mean any age could win, but in this case I don't see him making the smart choice when he has to. Like I think might be carried just because everyone knows he might be a dunce. But yeah, I mean nothing is impressive. But I mean, whatever, we'll see. Maybe he'll win a few comps.
Yeah, this guy is 100% the first HOH and 100% going home in week 2. Like, obviously, right?
That's certainly possible. Yeah, I mean he's like I said at the top of the show that this cast does have a huge like there aren't a lot of people on the cast who are like filling an archetype, and the cast is kind of a lot of unique personalities. I would say that Ethan is definitely an exception to that. He is very much just like the amalgamation of every like like dumb jock surfer bro stereotype you could possibly imagine all in one person. And I think he's the good thing is I think he's at least self-aware that that's what he is, which is it's not nothing, but it's not enough.
So I mean here's my like prediction. He's gonna come in, he's gonna smoke that first competition, and then he's gonna have a horrendously handled HOH in the first week where he just burns so many bridges and everyone hates him, and then he's gone soon after that. That's just the only way I see this going down for him.
Yeah.
Look, man, what if he has a decent HOH, follows what the house wants? Everyone thinks, oh, this guy's a pushover dummy, so let's just carry him to the end. And somehow he flips the switch, turns it on at Final 5, and just wins this whole freaking thing.
I mean, that's
I hope it happens. I really
that's
do.
like Mitchie Jackson upside. Not talking about anything he said, just like how he played the game. I just don't see that for him.
Yeah, no, this guy does not have the like killer instinct that Mickey had. Yeah, I don't see it at all. I just don't. I'm trying to think of like I guess like for me the best thing you could probably do is to get into a showmance with one of the smarter girls
Mm-hmm.
on the cast and be like the brawn to her brain, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But like even then, I just don't know. Like he could be, as Chad said, like kind of like a dope that gets dragged along as a vote in kind of a power alliance. But I don't know if he wins a vote against somebody who isn't just like super hated. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see it. I can't really see a path to him winning. So it's just yeah, he'll be fun for as long as he sticks around in the game. I think. I think if an average season of Big Brother, when you get like 2 or 3 of these kind of guys in the house, it can be a bit much. But I think that with this cast and him being kind of the only one that fills this kind of like meathead bro archetype, he could bring something unique to this cast that has what seems to be a lot of like really like cerebral types on it. So I think his most like the biggest role he's going to fill is kind of going to be as like an obstacle for the players to overcome, because he might win a lot of those early comps and people might have to try to control him and control his HOH. That's all I can see.
I have no doubt this guy can hang on walls and throw balls into baskets or stuff like that. Like,
Yep.
I'm sure he'll be good at the beginning of the game.
He plays 3 sports, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he didn't say he plays lacrosse, but I mean he does. Right? It just feels like he does.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far into just insulting him.
No, I don't. I'm trying my best to like try to figure out an upside for him, and he seems like a very nice guy. He just doesn't seem like super cut out for Big Brother.
No.
Exactly.
Next, we have Jedson, who I believe is going to go by Jed primarily, Tavernier, who is 25 years old from Aurora, Ontario, and he is a personal trainer. I believe he is also a model. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. What are your thoughts on Jed?
I mean, he seems cool. He's definitely like one of the people when I was watching the videos, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is a good looking cast. Because it was like showing his modeling shots, and I was like, oh yeah, he's like, I can see why he's a model.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously personal trainer, that shows that he's probably going to be decently athletic. I don't see him as necessarily too bro-ish or off-putting like Ethan that we just talked about. He's definitely someone who I want to hear more from, and get a feel for, is he going to be able to be a strong social player as he says in his bio? We'll see. Hard to say too much from his short video, but that might be a good thing. If you don't jump out like super positive or negative, that's kind of where you want to be in Big Brother in the actual game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of the Goldilocks rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chad. What are your first thoughts here on Jed?
Yeah, Jed's one of the ones I really do like. Brian kind of summed it up, but he's got the looks. He's athletic, and he doesn't seem like too full of himself or too bro-y or too doofy. Like I feel like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's probably a genuine guy, and I think he's if not in my top 3 right now. I think for just strongest like potential winner pick. But he's one of the ones I want to see more from. But like you said, like maybe the less we see, the better too. But yeah, I like Jed a lot.
Yeah, no, I definitely, just looking at the video, I think that he's came off very middle of the road to me. Very likable personality. He seems like he could be like a good talker in the house. But then reading his bio, he has a bulleted 6-tiered strategy list going on, when most other people like basically gave like a 1-sentence answer to this question. He listed 6 strategy ideas that he is, I guess, thinking about or like preparing for. And they all seem like relatively like good fundamental strategies. And he definitely is coming off to me like somebody who can actually kind of back up the talk that he's putting out, as opposed to somebody like Braden or somebody like, one of the other cast members that we can talk about later, who I don't have as much confidence in that they'll back up what they're putting out there. I feel like Jed is probably top favorite to potentially take this whole thing.
Yeah, he definitely has the like unassuming, charming thing going on, which is very dangerous in games like this.
Oh yeah.
Did we skip Josh?
No, Josh actually comes alphabetically after Jed.
Okay. I don't know why he's before it on mine. I was like so ready to talk about Josh, and then.
Oh yeah, I caught you off guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that he talks about being like this triple threat, like physical, intelligence, and social, and I do think that he might actually have the skills to be like above average in all of those categories. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what he can do with this cast, and I definitely am looking at him as a potential winner pick. Now we can move on to Josh.
Now Josh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Lead the way, Brian. You apparently got something to say about Josh.
You're jumping at the bit here to talk about Josh.
So Josh, age 30, from New Westminster, BC, film production co-coordinator, and his strategy to start a 4-person secret alliance with potential showmans in the alliance. So, Josh, I don't like when people are like, I'm an extroverted introvert, ever in just real life, but certainly not in like a game setting. If you're gonna be on Big Brother or really any of these games, most of the people are gonna be Type A personalities, and if you're not that, you're gonna get run over. Is that unfair to say?
No, that's not unfair.
And I am worried for Josh in that respect. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I don't want to poison the well with my opinion first. So I'll let Chad talk on him first. I know that Chad had mentioned that he likes Josh, so I'll get like a varying opinion on it before I kind of like give my take.
Yeah, I mean, on first glance with him, just watching that bio video, I mean, he comes across as, a little like 15 degrees off cool. But I think if he's not as much of a weirdo as he like might come across as, I think he's someone who could, really skate under the radar and maybe be a physical threat. But I mean, nothing was really indicated by that, but he feels like he's in decent shape. He says he's worked with a lot of big personalities, and that's where I was like, okay, I see you. Being a film producer, I don't know any like famous actresses or actors in Canada, but I imagine he's worked with some people that are, have those kind of personalities. And as you just said, Big Brother is very Type A personality environment. So I think if he can like handle those people while still staying like true to himself, and not being just like a pushover, because he does have that like outcasty vibe to him. I think he has potential. He's not like my winner pick by any means, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him, final 7. Jury at least.
All right.
Ben's like,
don't like
no, okay. I have like 3 or 4 like red flags here with Josh. My first is that he mentions that he's never lived with anybody except for his parents, I believe. He's an only child, and I don't know if he like didn't go away for university or something, but I don't know. It's kind of unclear. But that's not great. That he hasn't like shared a living. He hasn't lived with anybody, like except for himself and his parents, which doesn't really count. So that's like my first like small red flag. My second red flag is Chad mentioned in his video, he does come off like very much like a weirdo. And like I mentioned earlier, I think that Beth was very quirky and kind of like a weirdo, but it was very much in an endearing way. And I don't really get that from Josh. Like I don't really find him to be very endearing at all. So I think that he could have a lot of trouble kind of fitting into like a social structure in a positive way, just right off the bat. And the next thing that I seen that to go off of that second point a little bit, his answer to if I could only eat one thing in the house is an IV trip with all required nutrients.
Yeah, that's a pretty psychopath thing to say.
Yeah, it's I did kind of get like some weird like sociopathic vibes from him in the video. I don't want to I'm not trying to armchair psychologist him. I'm not trying to do pull a Nick here. But yeah, it's a very odd thing to answer, and his personality seems to be simultaneously like psycho and like very one note and boring, which is probably the worst combination you can have, where he doesn't seem like he has like a lot of like things that he could use to get along with like a wide variety of people, and on top of that his personality kind of seemed like a turnoff on its face, so he doesn't even have those like surface level connections that he could break into kind of a social structure with. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's enough of my.
Oh, okay, I'll say this. I knew a guy a lot like him in high school, who just like would go out of his way to just be off-putting.
Yeah.
And like I never understood it, and I tried to like give him the benefit of the doubt, but even I like eventually was like, I fucking hate that guy. Like, but I know people who knew him outside of high school, like afterwards, and worked with him, and said that he became like a pretty normal, cool guy. So maybe same thing here, but I'm not making it my winner pick.
That would be great if he were 23, but he's 30 years old.
Okay, that's a really great point. That's a really great point.
I don't think that's the case. I think this is him. So
I got two guesses for this guy. One, he's a vampire, and I'm calling him. Two, he's Machine Gun Kelly's cousin. That's it. Like he's either one of those two things. There's no way he's not. Like, but no, I'm sure he's great when you get to know him. But yeah, he's a little weird. I mean, if you want an IV drip as your snack, I mean that's great. Maybe fill it with blood. Maybe he's a vampire, like I said.
What kind of food do you like? Human food. IVs. What? yeah, I was gonna say he's gonna say blood, and he's like, no, that's too fucking weird. IVs. Like, okay, good. That's great, Josh.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the diagrams on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this guy like watched a bunch of like TED Talks and then based his entire personality around like just being I don't even know. I can't even like describe him, honestly. It's just perplexing to me. And I've seen people online talk about him and say, I relate a lot to Josh and I don't like him.
So I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
To realize your flaws and, to understand how other people might perceive you.
Yeah, so I just don't, I don't know. Yeah. I can't, I'll say straight up, there's a lot of people on this cast that I don't think are going to do well. And I think Josh on my list is my 14 out of 14. I just can't, like, other people, like, there are paths for them to like back into a win. I think I just can't see a path for Josh to end up in the winner's seat.
Right.
So
Hard agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chad, but I'll have to digress.
I don't like him as a person. I just think he's.
Chad was just
gonna
hedging
be
his
fun.
bets that he is a vampire.
He's gonna be
He doesn't
very
want to get
intriguing television for however long he's in the game. I don't know if it's gonna be like entertaining or like fun television to watch, but it's definitely gonna be interesting. And he's definitely gonna add like a spice to the cast that, could like kick it up a notch. But yeah, I don't know. I can't see.
He's
see
like he's like the head of, like, you're in high school, right? He's the head of that table that you walk by at lunch. You're just like, and then that's it. Like he's that guy to me. Just like the weird lunch table kids that you're not going to sit with and try to sit far from. But
yeah, you still want to be on good terms with them, just in case. But
you don't want to be on their bad side. They might IV drip you in your sleep.
Oh man,
I don't know. I got nothing else to say about this guy. I really don't.
All right, let's move on. I think we were like, we're not gonna roast him too bad, and then it's like 5 minutes of just roasting him.
No, I never said I wasn't gonna roast him. I just didn't want to do that before Chad gave his opinion because I knew I was gonna go in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you did.
Oh man.
All right. Well, Chad, you can start off here with your opinion on Julie Vu, who is 28 years old. And she is a social media influencer from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah. Do you want some stats of her social media before we start?
I think she has like 500,000 on YouTube, right? So I checked.
Oh, I didn't even know YouTube. All right, so 500,000 on YouTube, 135K on Instagram, 12.5K on a private Twitter account with only 55 tweets. That's weird. But, but honestly, good practice. If you're going to go on Big Brother, delete all your tweets, private your thing till you get off.
Oh, yeah. Private your Twitter, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So she fucking knows what's up.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, Chad.
No, you're fine. With those stats, I mean, for me, the social media influencer type personality is not something I personally like vibe with too much. If that's your whole career, then like I hope you got like 1 million followers or whatever, and you're actually like doing stuff. With her, I mean, she's got a cool story. First act like transgender on BBCAN. We had one in BBUS on BB16. From what I remember, I think it's been the only one.
BB17.
Yeah, Audrey, I think.
Audrey, Sequester House. We got to play. It didn't go great for us, but it was a lot of fun. It's a really great game, but it didn't go well for us.
Yep.
Exactly. So I think, she's like type A. She's a Leo, it says right here. So I don't know. I think people are either gonna love her or hate her, and I think she's gonna be a strong personality in the house that's like really driving things, or she might be the one that's starting fights, and that's not doesn't bode too well. If you're like the one starting it, usually the one that end it maybe, but I don't know. She's a little too in your face for me. I like her. I like her story. I think it's cool. I think she's a genuine person, but she's a little too strong for me.
Yeah, I like her. Obviously, she's been through a lot in life, like transitioning. Yeah. That's not something I know anything about. So, that's awesome that she's out there, being who she is. I know a little bit about building social media, not as well as she does. She's a fucking, queen bee, where we're just trying to get scraps as peasants down here. So I know it's like people who don't like pursue this kind of like look social media, like it takes no talent, it takes nothing. And for some people, I'm sure that's true, but I do think it does take a lot of hard work to manage. And, 500,000 on YouTube, that's a lot. That's really impressive. So I think I think honestly, going on Big Brother could only hurt her social media career. I don't necessarily see how an established social media person could benefit at all from 24-hour live feeds of them. But hey, more power to her. I wish her the best of luck.
Yeah, I agree that there's definitely some potential downside to Julie, but I'm cautiously optimistic about her chances. I think that I agree that she's definitely type A. I don't think she's the loudest female personality on the cast. So I don't necessarily see her kind of being a lightning rod for drama necessarily. I do think that working as a YouTuber is actually probably one of the like more useful jobs in terms of
her diary room should be great.
in terms of success on Big Brother, in terms of obviously making good television, good feeds. She definitely has like a broad life experience to draw from. She seems very charismatic, very likable. I am again cautiously optimistic. I think that she's kind of a dark horse candidate for me to potentially go pretty far. Yeah, I'm excited to see her play. I think she mentioned. Was she one of the ones? Was she the one who mentioned this? Oh, I think somebody else mentioned some players that she liked. But yeah, I don't know how well she knows the game. I think that would probably be my my biggest flag for her is if she were to have been recruited because she has like a social media following. So whether or not she's done her homework for me, I think is going to be the difference maker in terms of her success.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny too because this summer I think I pitched you guys my social media influencer strategy, like a harebrained strategy is that you go into the house lying that you have millions of followers and use that as a like thing of social currency of being
Right,
like
basically,
as a threat as like if you're in good with me, my followers will love you, like we'll win whatever, she could actually do it. I doubt she will because it's like a stupid like 3 a.m. can't fall asleep. This would be a funny strategy to pull off, especially for someone with no real social media clout.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I just wanted to mention that because we talked about it over the summer.
Yeah, she could be a real social media mogul.
Yes.
Yeah. Shine bright like a Julie.
There we go.
Oh man.
Title the video this.
Shine bright like a Julie. People would be mad. They'd be like, "How dare you make me think of Frankie?"
Yeah. No, I don't want to insult her like that. She seems cool.
She seems cool. Yeah. But like I said, why go on Big Brother when you have 500,000 followers and so much to lose?
Well,
in my opinion.
I mean, if that's the case, then that makes me feel even better about her chances because that makes me feel like she legitimately would care about the show and the game. And
true,
because if some recruiter came up to you and was like, "Hey, you want to come on this reality show? We're gonna lock you up in this house and you're gonna fucking suffer for like 70 days." Sounds like fun.
And then when you get out, you never mentally be right again.
Yeah. Hope you have 2 months of content backlogged to release on a schedule.
That too.
It's like, I don't think that. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that anybody who like doesn't like care about the game with that kind of a following would agree to go on. So, I think that if anything, that's a positive for me because it probably indicates that she, is at least something of a fan. All right, let's move on. All right, Chad, what are your thoughts here on Kiefer Collison, age 32? He is a 32-year-old father and radio host from Old Masset, British Columbia.
I kind of like this guy, and I don't know why. Um, I think he's
I
a
know why, because he
fun.
fucking rocks.
No, no,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, in terms of a player, I don't know if he's
Mm.
gonna go too far, but as a person, this guy's like, I mean, he's awesome. Like, I mean, he's got the freaking mullet. Like I said in our text message, he's batting out of his league with his wife there. Um, but yeah, he seems like a cool guy. I mean, he hosts a radio show.
Hmm.
So you have to have a good personality for that. So I'm excited to see him interact with people and just see who he is. Um, I don't know if he's going to be a good player. Did he said he was like a fan of the show? I feel like that's the one thing.
Hmm.
If he's a
He
super
definitely.
fan, I think, yeah, if he's a super fan, I think he could really go pretty far. Kind of, be a type of player that's like, hey, I'm not going to win the physical comps or anything, but
Hmm.
I'm a number and I'm smart. Use me in comps. Use me for strategy, whatever. Um, and I think if he partners up with a Braun type of guy, maybe not your Ethans, but someone like Jed. I think I mean that's an unlikely alliance right there anyway. Um, I think he could take it far. Winning maybe, but I like him overall.
Yeah, as like a fellow goofy fat dude who talks into a microphone, most of the time I found a real kinship to this guy, and I just love him. I hope he stays for a long time. I hope that his super fanness will be enough to carry him and his.
Hmm.
I think an advantage he might have is because he's a bigger guy. He's probably going to be cracking a lot of jokes. He's going to be in a good spot to be like overlooked as a threat early on, which is great because just work on building those relationships and then come on at the end.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, most of the uh, like late game Big Brother, especially Big Brother Canada competitions, are more like cerebral and quiz based. So yeah, definitely has like the natural like build of like seeming like a less of a threat in comps early on, and then kind of having the opportunity to potentially ramp up later. Yeah, no, he's extremely likable. He's very charismatic. He's kind of got the like you mentioned, the goofy vibe to him. His biggest hurdle is just going to be, I think, getting through the first couple of weeks because he has like the natural like potential outcast vibes that you would get in a regular Big Brother season. But if he can get through those first 2 or so weeks and get into a decent social position in the house, which I think he is capable of doing. I think there are a number of people on this cast that he could potentially vibe with. Yeah, I think that he has a chance to, potentially make a run deep if he, shows to be even capable in winning some of the more physical competitions, even outside of what you would expect. Then I definitely think there is probably a higher ceiling than you would initially expect for Kiefer here. But yeah, I think it is going to be an uphill battle for the first few weeks to get into that position. So he's going to have to put some work in socially, I think.
Yeah. No one's happier to see Ethan and Josh in the house than him.
Yeah. Or, maybe unfortunately, as we'll talk about later, somebody like Tina could be more of an outcast socially.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's yeah, there's potential here. Like there's potential. As Chad mentioned, he is a fan, and that's definitely always going to add points for me in terms of winning potential and being a good player. Knowledge of the game is half of the battle in Big Brother. All right, now we'll move on to Latoya Anderson. She is a 34-year-old police officer from Pickering, Ontario. Brian, what are your thoughts on Latoya?
I think Latoya could be good. I think she's gonna hide that she's a police officer, which I think most police officers do when they go on these shows, which I think is good and probably the smart thing to do. I think was it Derek or Brett from Survivor? They mentioned they're like Once you tell people you're a police officer, every bad interaction they've ever had with a police officer gets put onto you. So that's a good thing to not bring up in a social strategy game. She seems fit. She obviously has like a more cerebral side to her with being like a fashion designer and creating her own swimwear line. Was that right?
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm intrigued by Latoya. What do you guys think?
I'm pretty similar to her. I feel like I'm a little biased to her for being in a pretty similar field to her, as well as Beth in the social work side. But with I like her because um, I feel like she's got like a lot of things going for her. She's a police officer, so that takes a lot of social skill. Um, she's got the look. She's a model, um, but I think and I'm probably overthinking it, but like running your own swimsuit line and doing all like the business side of that, she probably has to be somewhat intelligent, right? And being a police officer, it takes a lot of smarts too in a way if you're a good one. But yeah, but we won't get into that. But she's someone like I said, I'm probably biased, but I do like her. She's not one of the ones that really like stands out as like a crazy good Big Brother player to me. She's definitely an interesting person given all her multi-facets going on here. Um, like she said, and she's gonna do what Derek did, and that she's probably not gonna tell anyone she's a cop, which is smart. Because like you said, like immediate, it's like a target on your back, and something that everyone can kind of get behind. But I think if she can hide that and kind of more cater towards maybe like, oh, I'm a model, I run my own small business, that's what I do. Um, and then using her physicality, I think I think she can go pretty far. I don't want to say she's a winner, but like if she finds herself in the top five, I'd be on the lookout for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm gonna yuck some yums again here. I'm bearish about Latoya's chances. I'll start. I think that Chad also brought this up, where she doesn't seem to have like a lot going on in terms of like her video and her bio, other than like being a cop and being like super into fitness and then the fashion stuff. I feel like there wasn't a lot more than that in terms of her like personality. She didn't really talk about like family or like any kind of like social things that she's involved in. So I just didn't really see her putting any kind of focus on her like ability to be like effective within the social part of the game, as opposed to like most of the rest of the cast who brought up relationships they've had in their life and experiences they've had that would play into being effective social players. I'm seeing a lot of like very like telling and not showing kind of going on in her bio, where she's describing herself in certain ways, but not really like giving any reasons as to why that's the case. And it seems kind of contradictory to what I'm like picking up from her video and from her bio. I do think that not saying that she's a cop is probably correct, but it's a very difficult thing to actually pull off. Like Derek pulled it off, but like that's a high bar to reach. And also on top of that, Big Brother Canada has been known to not keep secrets of house guests very well historically. So lying about a part of your life that big is tricky at best. And so it's going to be difficult for her to pull that off. And the other thing that worries me about her is that she's very outwardly physical. And so I talked about this. We covered the start of Big Brother 19, but never actually really covered the season. And I talked about this a little bit in terms of my first impressions of Christmas and my expectations of her coming into that season before she broke her foot, which is that especially if you're a woman who is very like outwardly physically capable, that's seen very that's seen as more threatening than when it's a man for, you know, whatever societal reasons or whatever. And so I'm worried that she might fall into like what Christmas could have fallen into if she didn't break her foot, or potentially like an Erica Hall situation from Big Brother Canada 6, where she's winning a lot of early competitions. She's putting herself into a position where she's giving off the outward physical threat vibes, and she gets taken out like late pre-jury, early jury. That's my biggest worry for her, is that she doesn't seem to have the skills to be able to carry her through being that physical of a threat outwardly. But
yeah, I would love to see Erica come back.
Oh yeah,
By the way,
you know, I was definitely a big Erica Hall fan in Big Brother Canada 6, and she was definitely robbed of at least making jury in that season with the Canada's veto twist. But definitely bad strategy to be that outwardly physically capable in the early parts of the game. And, you know, who's to say that LaToya will actually show that kind of success within the early competitions? But it seems like she is intending to, and I don't know if that's going to turn out great. But she surprised me. But I'm not seeing it right now, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think she's gonna end up like as one of those people that's in, you know, the majority alliance and be one of like the alphas per se. But my biggest worry for her is like she doesn't seem relatable, like to a normal like average person. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these people on this cast are like very endearing. You kind of see some of yourself in them, like at least some aspect of their personality. Like I get it, you know, maybe not Josh, but with her, it's just like, oh my god, you're this like you do so many things. You seem like, you know, she's like insanely fit, police officer, which is off-putting some people, and you know, run your own small business. Like I feel like it's almost like she comes off as like very surface level, and I'd be worried to see or intrigued to see if she can build like, you know, closer, more intimate relationships on like an individual level. Because I feel like she's just gonna wind up being someone in the house that no one can like no one takes that extra step with. I don't think she's gonna be anyone's ride or die, and she'll probably get booted because of that.
I think she's in a precarious position. Sorry, I think she's in a precarious position too because she's 34, so she's on the older end, but she also doesn't have kids, which puts her in like a weird like middle ground where she's not quite one of the young people. She's not as relatable to the older people in the house. So where's she gonna fall within the hierarchy of either? So interesting. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts, Ben, on the next one. You've been hinting.
Oh yeah, I figured you might have picked up that I was implying about Rohan a little bit earlier a few times. I can start with Rohan.
Please do.
Yeah, I mentioned this is who I was implying before when I was talking about. I think mostly I mentioned him or referred to him when I was talking about Brayden, kind of setting the bar higher than he could reach in terms of his expectations as like a strategist or as like a manipulator or whatever. Rohan is like that times like 6. Like he's just he has a very high opinion of himself, and it comes off very clearly in a 1.5-minute video. It's like at least 10 times that he has a very high opinion of himself. So I can't imagine that that's going to be something that will remain hidden for very long in the house. So yeah, I don't know. If we're talking about people who have like kind of off-putting personalities, this guy definitely fits that for me. I'm hopeful. Like the best case scenario for me is that he's putting on like kind of a facade and a front just to be like a character to go through casting to like have like this villain archetype persona coming into the season, so people are talking about him, and then he's just a completely different person in the house. That's my best case scenario for him. I don't know if I believe that that's the case fully. Possible, but yeah, he just kind of exudes just like this like cocky asshole vibe that I don't think is going to be successful at all on this, especially in this cast where there's a lot of people who I think highly of themselves, but in less of a like douchey way. And so I don't think a lot of those people are going to take his personality very well. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Chad?
I mean, this guy's a freaking stooge. Like, he's just total. like the moment he says like, "Oh yeah, I'm a 9 out of 10. I can totally manipulate anyone that's like a 7 or lower." I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, shut up. Just because you got strategic in your like job title doesn't mean you're a strategic player by any means. And like this guy just got totally the wrong vibe from. Just totally like, I'm full of myself, my shit don't stink kind of guy. And it's like, dude, who gives a shit? Like, you're 26, like you're in that good age for Big Brother, great. But like, if I mean, it would be incredible to see this guy back up all the bull crap he said about himself. Like, if he comes out as like one of the top physical guys, he comes out as like a real mastermind, then you know what? Kudos to you. I'll be your 7 out of 10 that you can manipulate all you want. But like, I'm hoping that Benny's right here and that he's just a total different guy and he's more genuine. But no, this guy, I don't usually like dislike people right away, but this guy's just a fucking stooge.
He's a strategic partnership manager. I don't know what the fuck that means. I'm sure he's great at it. He's definitely that guy in the office who's just like way too gung-ho about everything, and just like, all right, we're about to like make the sales today. We're going to do this. It's going to be awesome. Everything's great. And you're just like, man, shut up, please. I know I would not get along with him. He's a great person, but I'm not. So like, I know that his like, probably like fake positivity would rub me like the wrong way in a work setting, in a life setting, in a Big Brother setting. And I think he's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, here's some fun stuff. The first two from his fill in the blank section. My biggest pet peeve is people that love the sound of their own voice. In parentheses, talk too much. In case that wasn't clear.
Dude.
Obviously, very ironic and also very funny that he, in his answer about people who love the sound of their own voice, is like condescending and mansplaining. And then a fun one right next. His biggest fear is going home week 1. I'm gonna take a little bit of a blast to the past here. 1 year ago, Big Brother Canada 8. There's this guy named Nico, and he basically came off in the preseason exactly like Rohan is in this video and bio. And everybody on the internet was like, this guy is going home week 1. He ends up putting himself into such an undiggable hole in week 1 that he self-evicts from the game rather than wait to be voted out.
God. Please.
So, I don't think...
Was he the magician?
I don't know if he was
or is that a different guy?
I don't know.
We're going to need a magician, man. He stinks.
No amount of magic was getting him out of that position that he was in week 1 of BBCAN9, that's for sure. But I don't think that Rohan is going to be as bad as Nico was, but it's definitely like not good that my first thought when I saw this was he reminds me of the guy who self-evicted like 3 days into last season. Like, that's not a good, those aren't good vibes to be bringing up in your bio and in your video. So I don't know. Maybe he'll surprise me. I don't see it. He's on my like list of like, you know, the 5 people I can't see winning. I have like my top 5, I have my bottom 5, and then there's like the kind of 4 in between, right? He's definitely on the 5 that I would struggle to see a path to a victory for, but we'll see.
Right. I'm trying to look up him because I don't remember. Oh no, I was thinking of Chris.
Oh yeah, Chris wasn't a magician, and Chris was actually in a pretty good spot when BBCAN9 ended.
Could have been. Okay. Yep. Nico. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I remember him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Basically, I think his second diary room was him breaking down in tears, realizing that he had no shot. So that's not great.
Listen, it's a lot of work to get onto these shows, and to blow your spot up immediately has to suck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's hope he does it.
To be fair, start of Big Brother Canada 8 had like the weird, like, kind of BB18 start situation where there was a bunch of competitions that made a bunch of people immune, and so like Nico probably would have been in trouble either way, but it's still like a shitty situation to end up in, where like a bunch of competitions put you into a position where you're in trouble. All right, let's move on to Tara Gillen Petrozzi. She is a 37-year-old. I don't want to age her beyond her years here. Spin instructor and mom.
Mm-hmm.
And is our second parent out of 2 on the season.
Mm-hmm. And she's short. Did she get that across?
Yeah, I think she might be 5'0", and she might have mentioned that once,
8
maybe.
million times.
Yeah. I think she also said the word bull more than I've heard in the entire rest of my 2021. So I think she makes up for about 80% of the instances of me hearing the word bull this year so far. So that's impressive.
What's that?
Yeah, Chad, what are your thoughts on Tara?
I kind of like her in a weird way. Like, I think she's likable. She's in shape, and she's one of the older ones, but she's not the oldest one. She's the second oldest one, but she like almost feels a little younger. So I think she has a really solid chance of fitting in with the younger guys. Well, the younger cast in general. Maybe not some like the 22, 23-year-olds, but in that middle realm. I don't think she's going to be your first boot by any means, but it's definitely going to be an uphill battle, but not too bad for her to make it late. I don't see her well. It's tough. She's such on the cusp for me. Like, I feel like she was like 4 years younger. Maybe she would be like a really decent winner pick. But I think the age might be the one thing that bites her in her short ass. But I mean, I like her. Like, she seems fun.
Yeah, she definitely has a fun mom vibe going on, for what that's worth.
Mm.
She's a spin instructor, so obviously in good shape. I think it's hard for people who are maybe a little older in that it's the extremes, right? The old and the young. And she probably has had this life of like not being closed off to normal people, but when you become a parent, your life changes a lot, I feel like, and you only hang out with other parents and like, your kids a lot. Presumably you hang out with them a lot. I don't know. I'm not a parent, but she said that could help her because she's used to dealing with like, I don't know how she put it, but like self-entitled younger people, which was fun.
I think she said irrational.
Irrational. That was it. Yes. Yeah. So that was fun. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
I think if she brings that type of humor and she plays like, I'm just like the fun mom type person, that could get her far. I don't know if she has winner equity, but I don't hate her chances on this season.
Yeah, I think of the older cast, she's the one that I have the higher hopes for. I do think she benefits from not necessarily being one of the more obvious potential first or second boot candidates. And so she has a bit more of a buffer potentially to socially integrate herself. Whereas on maybe a different season, she wouldn't have that if she were to be the oldest or the most obviously outcast player, or if there weren't other players who might immediately rub people the wrong way. So I think that she has an advantage there. I think I like I said before with I don't know who I said it before for, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe Julie, I said that for.
Yeah, Julie.
But yeah, I think she kind of falls in that like middle ground for me, where there's definitely upside if she's able to kind of tamper down some of the more type A aspects of her personality, but keep some of the more like fun aspects and like likable aspects of it. I think that she might be able to swing herself into a decent social position. I think her high end might be somebody like Mumsy, like Sarah from BBCAN9, who was an older mom type. I think she was also in her late 30s at the time, and she was able to fit herself into the first 5 Power Alliance that ran like basically the first half of that game. So it's not unspeakable that she could end up within like the power structure in a really solid way. And Mumsy was like kind of like running things like kind of behind the scenes for like the first 6 or 7 weeks of that game before Arlie turned on them and Netta and John kind of took over. So yeah, there's definitely upside for her. So yeah, I think that's her peak is Sarah, and there is, I think, win equity there, but definitely not one of my top picks, but certainly not somebody that I would expect to go out necessarily super fast. All right, now I'm moving. Yeah, we have 3 people left. Our third to last player here is Tina Thistle, our token Newfie of the cast. She is a graphic designer from Paradise, Newfoundland and Labrador. She's aged 42.
I like her. I don't think she's gonna do well. I think she's just too different from everyone else on this.
Yeah.
She's very country,
Mhm.
and I feel like everyone else is very city. Does that make, except for Beth?
Yeah.
But even now, she lives in a city, so like,
Yeah.
it feels like that to me.
Right.
I kind of maybe expect they would put more like country-ish people on the cast, but no, still very city based.
Yeah.
I just think I think she's just gonna have a hard time relating to people. I mean, we've seen it. Sam in BB, what was that? BB20. Yeah, she had a really hard time. Not helped by having to be a robot at the beginning of the game, admittedly, but generally after that. And hey, maybe she has some Laura Rimmer upside, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that she's very different. She's the only Newfoundlander from on this cast. She's the only East Coaster on the cast. Out of the cast of 14, 12 of them are from only 3 provinces, from Alberta, Ontario, or BC. Whereas I think Braden is from Quebec and Tina is from Newfoundland. So that also compounded with the fact that she's the oldest is really not. It's not like it doesn't give me a lot of hope for her chances. I think that she's kind of the stereotypical first boot, like easy consensus boot. If there's like a situation where there's not somebody who's creating themselves to be a social outcast because of their behavior in the first week or so of the game, and especially if there's like kind of a fast eviction, like within the first couple of days of the game, which Big Brother Canada tends to like to do. She's very much an easy consensus boot. So that worries me. Depending on how the twist that we are yet to talk about plays out, there's a chance she could find herself to be safe in the first week. If that were the case, then that could potentially boost her potential in the game if she's able to just like have a week to try and claw herself into a good social position. But it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. But I like her. She seems very fun. She seems to like be like the good level of energy where like it's not overbearing, but like it's enough energy where you like want to be around them. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I like her. I feel like she's in a way that like Sam from BB20 was more of like the like country, but like, you know, the stereotypical like country with a hard accent. I mean, Tina has an accent. Yeah, yeah. I feel like she feels like a more like realistic, like country type of person and not like the over exaggerated country type.
Mm.
You know, she's not like Chicken Joe or anything. But yeah, I mean, I think she's the type that's just gonna if let me say this, if Ethan wins first HOH, Tina's going home. Like it's more than likely. Um but like yeah, I mean I like her. I think she got that good level of energy, but she's just I mean geographically she's the outcast and I think that's, you know, a synonym for what she is in the game too. Like it's just she's the oldest by like 5 years. She's just she feels like a real human being, whereas these guys all feel like, you know, a part of their personality is the reason why they got here. I mean, obviously, but you know, they're like exaggerated in a way.
Mm-hmm.
At least compared to her, like she feels like the most like fair, like normal person on this cast.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's going to be her downfall. But if she ends up on this team that ends up winning, like if she ends up with four strong guys, players, I should say, then maybe she gets carried a little while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
I
all we
agree.
have to say about Tina, I guess.
That's
Yeah,
it.
we'll talk. I'm sure we'll probably bring her up when we talk more in detail about the mechanics of the first twist. But I definitely think that that's going to be the only way that she can have some sort of saving grace in terms of getting a foothold in the game. All right, let's move on to Sean Carter Newman, 29 years old, and he is an urban planner from Montreal, Quebec. Oh, he is the Quebecer. Okay. There you go. Chad, what are your first thoughts here on Tashawn?
Yeah, this guy's by far my favorite person on this cast. I think he's like the most genuine, like awesome, positive guy. Like someone you really would love to just be around. As a player, I think he also has really good potential. Like I don't know if he's like the strongest player that we see out of the gate, but I think he also could be. He's in my top three. That may just because I like him as a human being, but no, I mean he's kind of got it all. You know, the good personality. He's good looking. He's an urban planner, which you know that's a pretty tough job in its own way. You know, you have to be really smart for that. So I think he's got the skills. Did he say he was a super fan? Because again, that's like the one thing that would push him over the edge for me.
I don't think he mentioned. Yeah, I don't think he mentioned how into the show he is, but he did say when he on the "How do you want people to remember you as a player?" question, he said a player that plays with his heart and did anything it took to win, which I think is encouraging at least. But yeah, in terms of like knowledge of the game, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think if he's somewhat knowledgeable, at least enough to like get past like the first couple weeks, get himself in a decent spot. And you know, he's not someone that's going to be a standout, but he's also not going to be at the bottom of the totem pole. I think everyone's going to like him, and that's gonna be like his best weapon is just how likable and charismatic he is.
Yeah, I agree. I think he seems like a cool dude who has winner upside. Maybe because he just seems like a normal, chill dude, and that's kind of a good thing, especially with a lot of big personalities. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's another one who it's just like he seems cool. I don't have a strong opinion on him because he doesn't present himself in a strong way in his video necessarily. I did definitely think like, oh, urban planner, that's a cool job. Like probably more helpful to people than like my office job is to the world. But other than that, I think he could win, but I haven't seen enough out of him to really make that call.
Yeah, I did like in his video him talking about like being like a mama's boy and like a gray mama's boy and all that.
Yeah,
I think
that was cute. That was a fun.
I think that kind of energy could really like help endear him to the other players potentially. He definitely does seem just very like on the face of it, very likable. He has seemingly a decent sense of humor as well. So I think he's just he's got the like charisma that you want without it being like very like obvious that he's super charismatic. So for that, I think that he probably can do very good. He's one of the many people to bring up wanting to be in a balanced co-ed alliance. There's a lot of people on this cast, something we haven't mentioned thus far, who have talked about wanting to form like a 4 or 5 person balanced sort of co-ed alliance. And I don't know if that's just because of like the structure that we got at the start of last season in BBCAN9, where you had like the victors on one side and KVBS on the other side, where both of them were like 2-2 male-female, like 4-person alliances. I don't know if it's, people wanting to take the model of the Pretty Boys, which is basically the brigade, and try to like make it a little bit harder to spot because people are probably going to be looking for like Pretty Boys style alliance because that's the most recent successful model that we've seen in Big Brother Canada. And so people are like, okay, well, if we make it co-ed rather than it just being like 4 bros, it could be a little bit easier to hide. Which I think was the idea behind KVBS last season. But that obviously didn't, it didn't matter because the season was canceled, but it didn't work out in exactly the right way because they had the wrong people in that alliance, in my opinion. But I think that that's something that we should look out for because it seems like a lot of players are going to be trying to do that strategy. And I think that Tashawn is somebody that could actually find himself in a successful version of that.
Yeah, I think I'll agree. Pretty big upside for him.
Yeah. All right, we have one player left. Victoria Wagren. I hope I didn't totally butcher that. She is 27 years old. She is a youth advocate from Hamilton, Ontario. Brian, what are your first thoughts of Victoria? I'm sure you probably have a lot of thoughts about Victoria.
I mean, I kind of liked Victoria. Obviously, her story being in foster care and then giving back. She had a really funny bit in her video where she's like, I'm a very like respectable like business person or like corporate person during the week, and then on the weekend I really want to party. So I can't imagine she's been having a great time in the last year. Not too much partying, hopefully, out of her during this, but I think she's a bit quirky. Or at least she tries to be. She had like the hair, like, oh, I have pink hair, like I'm crazy, which is like, okay. I mean, I think she might have a difficult time in the house though, and I don't necessarily think she's going to win. maybe early jury, if not pre-jury for her, in my opinion. But she seems fun, and I respect her, occupation a lot, and her, story of going through the foster system that couldn't have been easy, and maybe that will help her because she's had to interact with so many different types of people, and we'll see.
Yep. What are your thoughts on Victoria, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely one of the cast members that has had, the most adversity in their life. When I saw her, I was like, oh, maybe she would probably get along with Beth pretty well. But I think that relationship would more benefit Beth than her. But yeah, Victoria's, she's an awesome person. Her story is amazing. Going through that much adversity in her life, and now, working and giving back to the same place where she was, fostered. That's awesome. In terms of Big Brother, I'm pretty similar to Brian on this one, where I'm not sure if that skill set can take her to the end, or I just don't see the oomph of like a winner here. I could see a scenario where she's in an alliance and she can skate pretty far, but I just don't see her making the right place to win it all. That jury, like start of jury, early jury is where I would put her. If not like right before jury starts. I don't think she's the first boot or second boot. Third, fourth maybe. But yeah, I mean, if she brings out like her fun party side, she could definitely put this like facade of being more of a party girl, and then maybe try to back it up with her smarts and just her social skills. But I mean, I guess I'd have to see more of her. From what I got, it was just like she's like the mullet of the cast, right? Business in the front, party in the back. But
Wait, I thought Kiefer was the mullet.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I'm saying Kiefer's the physical mullet. She's the
The spiritual.
of it, I guess.
Spiritual.
The spiritual.
Maybe her and
She's
Kiefer will get along then.
mullet.
She's gonna watch this and be like, did he call me a spiritual mullet?
Yeah.
You know what? You're damn right I did, and you can tell the video that.
No, I definitely think there's some upside here from Victoria. She's definitely a lot.
She has one of the bigger personalities on the cast, for sure.
Yeah.
Or at least she portrayed that in her video more
Right.
than everyone else.
Yeah. She's definitely like the loudest personality, I would say. There's a couple of things in her bio that make me a little bit hesitant. She mentions a few times that she like finds herself to be capable of like manipulating people, and she mentions like her greatest strength is being able to read and manipulate any person or situation. And I think I'm gonna like press X to doubt that one a little bit. I'm not 100% sure who on this cast she's gonna be like manipulating. But yeah, as far as like her actual capabilities within the game, I think as long as she doesn't like put people off immediately with her like loud personality, she could definitely fall into an alliance that like carries her pretty far into the game. But yeah, I agree with Chad that I don't know where the win potential comes in terms of like getting to a final two and winning a jury vote. There's theoretically a way that she could pull it off, I think, but I don't really think it's likely. So yeah, I would put her somewhere in the middle for me, leaning towards the negative, but there's definitely some potential there at least where she could surprise me, I think.
All right. So
Agreed.
we did it.
Yeah.
We covered the cast.
We got through it. So yeah, overall, definitely a very interesting cast. I think that there's a lot of like people and interactions here that could be very interesting to see play out, especially kind of in the early couple of weeks where the social structure kind of teases itself out. But it might be a little bit kind of hampered or potentially influenced by what we see now as the first twist of the season, where Big Brother Canada is asking the audience to vote in the next few days, I think through Saturday, for 2 players to be team captains, because these 14 players, hopefully 14 players, will be split into 2 teams of 7, and the 2 team captains will, I believe, be reverse schoolyard picking the teams. So they'll be picking the players that they want on their opponent's team. Is how I've been told that it works.
That's great. Great twist. Really
Um,
good.
I think
Not confusing and convoluted for no reason.
I mean, I think the idea, right, is that like you're like creating, like, you know, I think that it feels worse to be picked first in a reverse schoolyard pick than to be picked last in a normal schoolyard pick.
That's a fair point. I just don't like twists like this. So basically, you're voting for the right to have 2 people torpedo their games immediately.
Well, that's the thing, because they are going to be immune for week 1. So they have a week to recover from potentially pissing off half of the house by rejecting them from their team. And there are, I think, players on this cast who would benefit from that 1 week of immunity, and that would probably be more beneficial to them than the social hit they could take from being the captain. I think that like Tina is somebody who I referenced earlier who would probably see a net positive in her game for being a captain and getting that immunity, even if it like causes her to put people off right off the bat.
I mean, hey, it worked out for Josh, right? Getting that golden apple, like
yeah. Week 1, even if you piss people off, a week of immunity is pretty valuable for the first week of Big Brother, because by week 2, people could have their own personal beefs that they prioritize over you. So yeah, it's not something that's invaluable. My worry, though, I'm not a big fan of teams on Big Brother.
it's terrible.
I think historically it's been it's I think historically it's stifled gameplay. You can see this in BB14 and BB18 primarily being the examples of early gameplay being kind of stifled by teams forcing people to work with players that they otherwise wouldn't want to work with, people kind of skating by that they otherwise shouldn't because they're immune due to some sort of team twist. If they have players on their team that are just like winning back-to-back HOHs. So if my guess is that, as I don't think it's confirmed how exactly it works, but generally how it works, how it's worked in previous iterations in BBUS, is that players are immune if the HOH is on their team. You have to nominate from opposite teams. But also on Big Brother US, the biggest team seasons have had 4 teams of 4, which is a much wider pool to choose from in terms of nominations, where you're choosing between 12 people or 11 people as opposed to 7 people or 6 people or 5 people. So I'm worried if that's how it works. If that's not how it works and there's some other way that they're going to have the team be relevant, then I guess I'm like potentially open to it, but I'm not super optimistic about this idea. What do you think, Chad, of this opening twist?
I think the reverse schoolyard pick is at least interesting. If it was a schoolyard pick, it'd be, like, whatever. Now we're just playing Survivor, right? But I mean, with the reverse schoolyard pick, it at least adds that level of like, oh, hey, I remember you picked me first to go on the other team. Do you not want to, build a relationship with me? So it's gonna, add that level of like it's going to create animosity.
Right.
I don't like it too much. I think it's kind of dumb. I don't even see a way you could fix it. If we do get 2 returning players, I think it'd be kind of cool if, they become their own captains and they just like can pick like normal schoolyard players that they want, and then now there's 4 teams of 4, like BB14. But either way, I'm not a big fan of teams like you are, and it's an unnecessary twist. Like, it's cool we get to pick the captains, but like, I mean, what are we gonna vote? Like Tina to keep her in to keep it interesting, and then what, Rohan, because we hate the guy, want to inflate his ego so he screws himself over. Like, I mean,
it would probably be Kiefer and Tina if I had to guess, just knowing like the fan base.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll be interesting. I hate team twists. I hate twists in Big Brother. I think Big Brother, the game itself, is pretty good without giant alliances like hampering the gameplay. But I especially don't like the team twists. I mean, I remember very distinctly in BB18 a whole week of feeds being about how the whole house was going to go after Frank the next week, and then the HOH came down to Frank and Paulie, which is like so intense, except they're both on the same team, so it actually wasn't intense at all. Mm-hmm. So, like, cool. Glad that ruined a whole week of like planning and looking forward to something happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know what they were thinking. Just hope it works out. Doubt it will.
Something interesting that points out, though, is that Frank benefited on 2 separate seasons from being from having a team twist where he was like protected when he otherwise shouldn't have been. So yeah, there's definitely, assuming it works out in a similar way in this season, there are definitely going to be players who make it like further than they would without the twist. And I think that there's going to be at least, I think, 1 or 2 people who like make it to jury and you're like, oh, wait, what? How? And you think back and you're like, when could they have gone home? And you realize never.
And you realize they've been immune the entire game.
Yeah.
This is great.
So I don't know. I'll reserve completely shitting on it until I see exactly the mechanics of it. But if it works the way I expect it to work, I think it's going to be a net negative for the season, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to touch on before we get out of here, guys?
Oh, we got to make our winner picks here?
Oh, right. Yes, winner picks.
Yeah?
Oh,
who wants to go first?
Well, who's the reigning champ? Chad?
Well, Chad is the reigning champ. Yeah, you picked Cody.
All right, Chad, you go first.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, now you have another chance here. Well, you can decide. You can decide the order of who you want to go first.
Yeah,
second.
that's good. That's good.
Well, who did the worst? What was the order last year?
Devon went out first of our winner picks.
Yes, and then Kevin.
We'll do me, Ben, Brian.
Sounds good.
That's fair to me too. I deserve it.
Yeah.
Oh God, I think I want Jed. I think I'm gonna take him.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna win again.
Good.
Yeah. Just like with Cody, if you hadn't picked Jed, I probably would have picked Jed.
Right.
I think Jed is a good pick. I think he's solid.
We could do reverse order.
No.
You're locked in. We're good.
You earned it. And this is definitely not like BB22, where it's like first with
obvious.
I definitely think there's like 3 or 4 people here who have like a really good chance of winning. So I'm not gonna get too upset over not having Jed as my winner pick. I right now I'm going between 2 people, I think, for who I want to pick. Yeah, I think I am going to pick. I'm going to pick Beth.
Okay.
It's close.
Who's your other one?
Well, I don't want to like try to like. I'll tell you after you make your pick.
Oh yeah. Well, it probably was not the pick I'm gonna make, because I'm gonna make it one for the memes.
Okay. You gonna pick Kiefer?
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick Kiefer.
Okay. All right. Well, I was going between Beth and Tashawn. Were the two I was going between. I think I think Jed was my number 1, and Beth and Tashawn are my 2 and 3 in some order. I think it's very close for those two.
I thought you were the same, Benny.
I don't.
I like.
Yeah, no, I think they stand out. I think they're a pretty clear top 3 for me, at least. Other people I think are kind of in the conversation for me are Julie, Austin, Tara. Yeah, I think they probably round out my top 6.
I think those are strong 6. So not in your top 6 is my winner pick.
Yeah,
Kiefer, which is unbelievable.
You know what?
It's
gonna be a glorious victory.
Yeah, no. This is the moonshot, right? The moonshot pick. The heart. You made the heart pick last season with Dave Vaughn. This is the heart pick again with Kiefer. So
that's all I do. I'm like Swaggy P when he shot that 3-pointer and then turned around, but then you can just see it missing in the background. Yeah. That's me with my Big Brother winner picks every season.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say Swaggy C with his game in Big Brother 20.
Hey, I mean he pulled it off. He got married afterwards. Like
yeah.
He won as much as he could have.
Yeah.
2 ways to win Big Brother, right?
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if he can really win, but if he did, how fun would that be, right?
It would definitely be a wild season. Yeah. I hope that one of us is right, so that we can continue our streak here. We can go 2 for 2 in terms of one of us picking the correct winner pick.
Yeah, I think you guys have a shot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think that I think it's going to be one of Jed, Beth, or Tashawn. So I think we have a 2 out of 3 shot. We could have probably closed it out if Brian didn't want to go for the memes, but it's all right.
You know what?
I mean,
he's a man of the people. He's going for
true, yeah.
One Kiefer. Like, come on.
There was never going to be a reality where I did not pick it. They say like there's infinite realities, but this is one of the things that anchors them.
I heard Josh say that. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Huge red flag saying you're a huge Elon Musk fan these days. Oh man. So I think we're getting kind of loopy, pushing on 2 hours at this point. But
you know what? It's Big Brother new season. All right, a lot to talk about. Hopefully the 2-hour or 2-night premiere gives us a lot to talk about. Hopefully we're not talking about one of our winner picks walking out first next Thursday night. That would be a bummer. But,
that would suck.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. I think ready to wrap this up and say goodbye to our podcast and say hello to a new season of Big Brother. So do you want to do the outro, Brian?
Sure, I'm well versed in it, and with the Buffy podcast being on indefinite hiatus due to Joss Whedon's actions, this will give me an actual way to get back into the swing of things. So, where can they find you online, Chad?
Find me on Instagram at ChadleyJP and on Twitter at ChadPerry25. It'll be over here, I think.
Yeah, somewhere in that direction.
Somewhere on this screen.
All right, Ben, how about you?
You can follow me on Twitter and pretty much every social media at Ben Sharon, but mostly on Twitter. That's usually where I'll be tweeting about BBCAN, doing some live feed coverage on there. Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, rip to our sleep schedules.
Oh, well,
we're back to...
At least Big Brother Canada films on the East Coast. It films in Toronto, so it's not like with a 3-hour behind situation that we have with LA for BBUS.
Right.
Where
that's a great point.
It's like 10 there and 1 here, and they also stay up until like 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
So
a little bit better.
A little bit better. And they make them go to bed usually on a reasonable schedule. So good.
So that is good. You can find me on Twitter at @theFakeBMar. That's BMARR. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WG Everything, on Instagram at Wicked Everything. This channel is Better Radio. Give it a subscription. Once we get to 100, we can get that custom URL and help us in the searches. You can follow the channel on TikTok. That's where we can get everything. Help us get to 200. I think we're at 199 followers on there. So, and having some good success for it. I like it. It's good stuff. Anything else that I didn't mention? Of course, rate us on iTunes, Spotify. Tell your friends about Have Not Room. And we'll see you in the next one after somebody gets kicked out.